Welcome to the Ask Dr. Deanna show. I'm Dr. Deanna Holdren, your host. Join me weekly as I cover various health-related lifestyle medicine topics that you get to request. This show is for anyone who wants to proactively improve their health position. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, I'm excited that you are with me today. We are starting a brand new series that I'm excited about. People ask me all the time about supplement protocols. What do I recommend for various conditions in my practice to my patients, etc. And so I thought it would be great to take this next series and just go through some of those supplement protocols, what I recommend, and just give you some of that information. So so you'll definitely want to have a pen and pencil out as you go through this session, or just go back and listen again and jot some things down. I want to start today talking about foundational nutrients, because this is key, it's core, it is really the place to start if you are not currently doing any supplements. And so what do I mean by foundational nutrients? To me, foundational nutrients are nutrients that everybody should be taking on a regular basis. And you might be one of those people who says, well, why do I need to take a supplement, if I eat a really good, really clean, really solid diet? Well, here's why. Okay. So basically what we know today is that food today does not have the same vitamin and mineral content that it once did. And the reason behind this is that due to certain farming practices, etc., we actually have soil that is of a lower quality. It's not as rich. It doesn't have the minerals in it, doesn't have the nutrients. And so then what happens is, as we grow our crops, they're depleted, as well as industrialized farming, a lot of, again, just farming techniques and so forth. We have, more food, for example, but it's not a higher quality food. It's actually deplete of certain vitamins and minerals. And there are studies that you can look at that will look at, a basic orange, for example, and the amount of vitamin C that it had, say, 50 years ago compared to what you can, get from an orange today. And then let's face it, most people, especially if you're eating, even if you're not eating the standard American diet. So the standard American diet in and of itself is loaded with carbohydrates. It is loaded with a lot of simple sugars. It is loaded with just a lot of grain. And it's fast. It's convenient. People are not eating, nutrient-dense foods the way that they should be. But even if you are eating a super healthy diet, let's say that you're eating a lot of vegetables, fruits, meat, that's good quality meat, grass-fed and so forth. Let's say that you really are on it with the diet and you're really working hard to fuel your body. Well, we're still going to have some food that is just deplete of some of those nutrients. So what are the foundational nutrients? What do I like to recommend to patients for everybody? I always start with a good multivitamin. And, to me, what makes a good multivitamin, yes, what's in it, but also what's not in it. And so oftentimes we'll see vitamins that are readily available, in all of the box stores and so forth, that have a lot of additives in them. And we really don't want that. So a good clean vitamin, if it is organic, if it is made in the US, that is going to go a long way. So you want to look for that. So just a basic multivitamin. And we have multivitamins for men, for women, for teens, for children. That is a great place to start. There are whole food multivitamins as well, which can definitely make a difference. And again, more nutrient dense, more bioavailable, more absorbable, and again, going to show up in terms of energy and how you feel and how your body functions on a cellular level. The next foundational nutrient in my mind is an omega-3 essential fatty acid. So to get the proper amount of omega-3 essential fatty acids, we would all have to eat salmon about 4 times a week. And let's face it, we're probably not going to do that, right? So taking a daily omega-3 is fantastic. This is one of my favorite nutrients. And the reason is that it is fantastic for the brain. You can actually put it in that nootropic category, that brain enhancing category. It's fantastic for the brain because it helps the brain. It is actually the preferred fuel source. It's the repair source. When you look at how we do repair work for the central nervous system, we use fats for repair. And omega-3 essential fats are the best fat to be using as a repair. If our body doesn't have omega-3s, we actually will use trans fats if you're eating those to do repairs, and it's just not going to be the same. When I say repair, specifically what I'm talking about is there is something called myelin sheath that basically wraps nerves that run through our body. And when myelin sheath gets damaged or short-circuited, if you will, the body will do repair work at the cellular level to repair that wrapping or that coating, that myelin sheath, and it will use omega-3 essential fatty acids to do that. And again, if you don't have those on board in your system, then it will use trans fats or whatever you have. So why do they call them essential fatty acids? They call them essential fatty acids because it's essential that we get them in our diet. We can't make them. My body does not have the ability, nor does yours, to make these essential fatty acids. Therefore, we have to eat them. We have to ingest them in the diet. So that's just the way that it goes. So omega-3s, fantastic for the central nervous system, wonderful for the brain. I have seen studies, even dementia studies, where they are looking at a certain protein that builds up in the brain, contributing to a certain type of dementia. And omega-3s will actually help to reduce that protein content in the brain and will help that. In addition, omega-3s are fantastic from the standpoint of repairing your gut. So for a lot of people, when their gut is a mess, let's say they're sensitive to gluten, we know about 50% of us have a gluten sensitivity. So when people are sensitive to gluten, they end up with sort of like an intestinal road rash, okay? So it is where the inside of the GI system is just irritated, it's inflamed. When you have irritation and inflammation, the cells do not adhere to one another. The little gap junctions in between are disrupted, and it's easy for things to kind of float across that membrane that should not be floating across. Well, omega-3s help to decrease inflammation, fill in the gaps, just really help make a tight barrier so that you can prevent things like leaky gut or things from moving inside the GI system out into the bloodstream. So they're good from that standpoint. They're fantastic from a total body inflammation standpoint. I love omega-3s for our athletes, not only because they are great for the joints, for protecting joints and just giving your body what it needs there, but also because they are wonderful to help prevent concussions. We know that omega-3s can help prevent those shear force injuries that take place, or those shear force mechanism that takes place in a concussion. So again, foundational, you cannot go wrong with omegas, not to mention they'll help bring your triglycerides down as well. Vitamin D is an important one. And, vitamin D may not be an issue for you depending on where you live. Vitamin D is something that should be checked at least yearly. I actually like to check this twice a year on most of my patients. And the reason is that I live in Ohio, our seasons change, and so do vitamin D levels because of that. But for some of us, we actually have a vitamin D receptor defect. And this is a genetic issue that causes us to be chronically low in vitamin D. When people are chronically low in vitamin D, they oftentimes end up with increased anxiety. They might have increased joint pain. They might have, more issues with ADD, for example, energy levels as well. So vitamin D, even though we call it a vitamin, is really more of a hormone. And it plays a role in so many things within the body. So checking your level and trying to keep your level, I always say, I kind of target people right around 60 on their lab test. That's the number that I like to see right there as a good spot to be. So vitamin D becomes important. It's great for bones as well, for overall bone health. And I believe that it contributes to some of your metabolism issues and can kind of help from the standpoint of, maybe helping prevent insulin resistance as well. There are some great studies out there on vitamin D with asthma. Okay, asthma and COPD. These are conditions that affect the lungs, but we know that the vitamin D helps to decrease inflammation and can make a huge difference there. And then finally, the gut. Okay, this becomes foundational as well. We've got so much great information on the gut now. And what we know is that there is a gut-brain connection. There is a connection between the gut and your hormones. There's a connection between the gut, the microbiome, and your emotional state as well. We know that the immune system, there's a connection with that as well, with about 80% of your immune system residing in the GI system. Also with things like serotonin, which is a very fantastic neurotransmitter that allows us to feel joy and happy and all those things. And that's in the gut as well. So a good probiotic becomes very, very important. And some people get their probiotics from food sources, okay, from fermented foods, which is sort of a lost art. That's a whole nother, episode in and of itself. And then some people supplement. I like Bacillus coagulans. That is something that I supplement with daily. I take a Bacillus coagulans probiotic every day. And part of that is that I know how important it is to keep my gut healthy. I know how important it is to help protect myself from things that I might be exposed to as a physician, and that we're all really exposed to out and about. So I want to protect myself. And that becomes a really, really key part of that. And we'll talk more about that in our segment on the gut. But these are, again, just foundational nutrients, the place to start. Where do I start? What do I want to include? And how do I make this work? How do I help my body to feel good? How do I help my body to function, at the highest level that I can? And this is a great place to start. So I hope you'll join us next week. We're going to talk about my supplement protocol, some of the things that I recommend for inflammation specifically. We're going to be talking a lot about joint inflammation. And I always say inflammation, if you treat inflammation, you're treating so many conditions within the body, so many conditions, so many diseases, because it's not just the arthritis that's inflammation. A lot of times what's going on in the gut, that's inflammation. A lot of times what's going on in the brain, they now call, dementia is a form of inflammation in the brain. And then, of course, the heart, there's inflammation there, the lungs. And so we're going to look at inflammation and how do we drive that down and look at some specific lab parameters that we can affect with some healthy supplements as well. So thanks so much for joining today. I hope you'll plug in next week as well.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. For more information, visit me at deannaholdren.com. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Deanna Holdren. I really want to hear from you, so message me. I love taking your messages and creating topics from them. Please rate, review, subscribe, and share my show with those who have an interest in health and wellness. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next week.